That is. Nini Nanaway Magan, Midegah Ogichi Da here with Amy, my wife. We are so happy to see you today. We wanted to briefly touch base on perception versus reality. That there's what goes on in someone's home or in a person's life, which you got really a limited view on. And then there's other people's opinions, and people make decisions on judgments based on other people's opinions. Well, let me be the one to tell you, in 2026, that's called gossip. You should probably stay away from it. I wanted to share something really quickly that before Amy speaks, we were going through, it's not often that I look at comments anymore, but there's one by an O.B. Weiser that we find very, very good. Before I read it, I will state that the Midegah has existed as a faith before the Europeans arrived on the continent, and what we're doing inside of our spaces is based upon our lodge traditions that can vary from one region to the next. However, the traditions of the peacemaker, that Latter-day Saints or restoration groups believe that Yehoshua from the Hebrew, that he walked on our land and communicated with us, and that's true. And we affirmed that, and we stated that internal to our communities and lodges, we're going to bring forth all of the extra information for the last 2,000 years so our people can claim their identity back. And this is the most important thing, is that we can claim our identity back. We're not asking for your approval, and we're certainly not asking for your validation. We're not asking for you to leave your church. We're calling for people to always go back to their faith. It's a part of your being and your well-being. But this is what we are doing. And so we looked across the aisle, and I was most suited, as part of my family are pioneers, to say your faith is true. We don't know anything about the extra stuff you added, and we won't talk about it because that's your box. But don't talk about our box. You want me to read this, or do you want to read it?
No, you can read it.
Okay. O.B. Weiser. This is a quote. It's interesting that the church, who touts its self-proclaimed right to all keys pertaining to God's kingdom on earth, with exclusive access to any and all revelations, to the extent of total dismissal of any competing or even complementary divine wisdom from another entity, in addition to having justified its accumulation of about $500 billion in net worth, with approximately a couple $100 billion in cash, and stocks as disclosed under duress after a whistleblower's testimony, encounters an individual who extends the olive branch with claims of records and heritage that corroborates its unique holy book, the Book of Mormon, which, even though its online minions attack and maligns his claims, and oh, have they. And when he reviles against said persecution, he's the narcissist. That's called reactive abuse cycle. I think that fallacy would be obvious to most reasonably intelligent and informed people. Now, I would say this. There's not a lot of grand chiefs that are traditional, and there is a difference between nation-state identity and what traditionally occurs in our lodges, our naming ceremonies, our powwows, our seasonal ceremonies. These are things that are the sovereignty of our culture and not of nation states or their citizens or of corporate churches to have a voice on. This is our culture. And we find it highly problematic when those who have benefited from our culture attack us when we affirm them from our position, not seeking the affirmation in return. There's a difference between perception and reality. The real question should be, how is it possible that none of the grand chiefs from the Northeast, Northwest, and Central America or South why are they still around? Why? Because it's real. All right. Do you want to close this out?
Yeah, first off, I'd like to say, for those of you who think you know my husband and have never even met him or had a conversation with him, I don't understand where obviously you get your information from gossip. You do not know firsthand. You do not know him, and I know him. For the last year, I have witnessed him being attacked I mean, constantly. I'm on a daily basis. And what I know about him, he is an excellent father. He took my children on that aren't even his own, and he treats them as his own. He loves them as his own and has put more time and effort into my children than a normal father would his own. So for those of you who have so much to say about my husband, you don't know him, and I do. And as far as his character that everyone loves to slander, I'm not gonna say he's perfect, because who is?
Nope.
Nobody's perfect. Everyone has their faults. But to pick on his faults and blast them out and exaggerate them, I just like to say this for those of you who have family. If your family were driven to the brink of extinction, wouldn't you have something to say or defend in defense of them, or wouldn't you be outraged or very, very upset and say things online or say things to people and defend in defense of your family? I don't understand why people can't understand this and where he's coming from. So yeah, and as far as being threatened about bringing other women on the scene, we have had a happy marriage for a year. I have had so many people, or so many women he has shown me threaten him that if he doesn't do what they want, they're going to come out and say that he has
done this or that.
Yeah, and so it's just...
And then they followed through.
Yeah.
Sent us audios and then contacted the lodge, and we just forwarded the audios when asked. You have no idea the pressures and stuff we got to deal with.
It's been ridiculous.
I would say this to Latter-day Saints: Book of Mormon's true. Okay, everything else you do, that's your box. Okay, we're going to use that, and we will use that, and we are using that. Bust our records in our box. Stay in your space. You're your own branch. Okay? Respect our faith as equally as you respect Judaism or you respect the Muslim faith. And I find it very interesting that maybe the problem is that I speak English. If I sat here with an interpreter and I spoke Guinea and I spoke in Anishinaabe, and an interpreter translated what I said, for some reason that would probably get through to you more than me just speaking directly to you. It should not be the position of the Latter-day Saint to drive a wedge between your organization and the descendants and generations of tribal people who are deeply offended at your conduct and your attacks. It should be your position to not be the kings of gossip, which we work with many other faiths, and we talk with presidents of other organizations, other Christian churches. And we were talking about this morning. There is one thing we all have in common. All of us organizations have in common. Why are the Christian churches all working with us now? The biggest gossiping jerks who claim under Article 11 of the Articles of Faith, we claim the privilege of worshiping Almighty God according to the dictates of our own conscience and allow all men the same privilege. Let them worship how, where, and what they may. Latter-day Saints allow all men and women the same privilege. Let them worship how, where, and what they may. And if they affirm you, they're not your enemy. So I think that's our message for today. I have been the first to explain my faults. Heck, I would just say this. And people make mistakes. I think I'll make one today too. I'm fairly certain. But something that really that has to stop is how you are allowing yourself to be perceived by an entire community. And you can't go grab your LDS friend in church who just carries an Indian card from the BIA but has never been in a ceremony, doesn't speak the language, and expect them to have any understanding, just as you can't expect to go into a liberal inner city and say Donald Trump is the president without receiving back 90% saying, not mine. We're doing the best that we can with what we have and what we're doing. And we find that our focus right now is we want to take care of our own people. We're working really hard to try to establish a campus in the center of North America. It happens to be Missouri. because the Indian Ministry Council of the Americas headquarters is there, where we can establish a campus to start to address in a collective manner, a return to the earth, a return to our family, and overcoming some of these struggles with drug and alcohol abuse, which has impacted me greatly in my life. I have a father and a father who is in prison since I was 2, and a mother who struggled to be a mother. And so it is a miracle that I was able to claw myself out and get to where we are, but we're not going to go back, just as our people aren't going to go back. We have the right, as you do, to claim to be American by lineal descent, to honor our fathers and mothers who are tribal in the nations that stand here too. And who are you, or who is the person to say that they can be the ones who approve what we can worship? That you have the say-so if we have the privilege to worship. So this is our message today, is relax, dial it down. And I think the last thing I'll say is we all have to pause and consider one thing as well. You pay your taxes and you look in the mirror, knowing that in doing so, you are putting scars in your children's hearts and memories with their combat experience. And I would say this to those that take a great effort to express their Americanism and free speech that they have earned. I spent 14 years in the United States Marine Corps. I was overseas for 1 year and 4 months. I am an Afghanistan combat veteran. I had over 600 Marines in my decade, plus that I was in. I personally went on bended knee, and this is in fitness reports, and provided 24 flags to loved ones of lost Marines, and said something impressed upon my mind. On behalf of the President of the United States, the Commandant of the Marine Corps, and a grateful nation, please accept this flag as a token of your lost loved ones' faithful and honorable service to Corps and country. I have personally delivered the remains of a Marine to his mother and father and slept in the hearse. I know what I've earned, and I certainly have earned the right to honor my forefathers and foremothers with remembrance. If that is in remembrance of song, in poem, in teaching, or in history, it's our culture, not yours. For those Latter-day Saints, we need you to understand something clearly. You are the only group that attacks Indians right now. You're the only one doing it about 1.5 years. I need you to understand the gulf that is occurring when even your professors with PhDs tout them on podcasts, not understanding that the senior ceremonial chief of the Maya from Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, Belize, and the Yucatan, which is the states of Yucatan, Campeche, Quintana Roo, and Chiapas, is a medical doctor with a clinic. She's a doctor, a professional degree. That Wendy Phillips, the senior traditional grand chief of the Anishinaabe of the Four Main, has a PhD. That Chief Phil Lane, who is the senior chief of the Americas of the Chickasaw Nation, hereditary chief, who's also heads the Global Indigenous Council, or network, or Congress called Four Worlds, has a PhD. That of those that are on the Indian Council of the Americas that represent traditional leaders, that you don't have any say-so in how we name, or the lodges we have, or the ceremonies we hold, or the songs we sing, or the teachings we share are not your purview. And yet, 4 of the members of that council have PhDs, and 6 of them have master's degrees, and of those, most of them have multiple. Don't be disrespectful. We watch and observe too. And I don't have to be kind. I wasn't called to be your friend. I was called to notify you. Book of Mormon's true. We're going to release records. Others are that are going to affirm it, and we're going to be coming public. The Midegah are going public. And knowing that there's as many branches in Midegah as there are in Christian. Are all Christians the same Christians? or all Midewin the same Midewin. It depends on the culture and the region and the direction. However, we have found those in the Northeast, the Northwest, and the Central, and the South to share the same traditions, and those records are in the sacred records, which affirm to us that we must remember that millennial period from 500 BC to 500 AD and replace the tragedy and the sorrows that came from 500 AD to 1000 AD and 1000 AD to 2000 AD, that we must move back the clock. We must save our families, and we must save our future. And the only way to do that is to return to the heart of the mother. The strength of the father is to protect and promote the strength of the mother. What is her strength? It is future generations yet unborn, who will be formed in her womb and the wombs of all those mothers, extending into the future from the materials of the world around you. The air, the land, the water, the living things. And therefore, if you are protecting the corporeal form of your generations unborn, you must protect the earth. And we are calling on all to save the earth, return to the earth, return to your family. That's the heart of turning the father to the children and the children to the father by giving them hope. That's it. So internal to us, we're okay. We're doing okay. And we are trying to insulate and protect our family as best as we can from the gossip patrol. Not everything you read is real, and we're doing our very best to call on you to have discernment. We are a branch. We are not a church. We are the first peoples, but you're not understanding that is not an exclusivity. You're first peoples too, but it's from somewhere else. We are the firstborn peoples of the Americas. We are the branch of the firstborn peoples of this land. And we are calling on you to allow us to speak our truth. And we shouldn't have to ask that, because you declare you allow all men the same privilege to let them worship how, where, and what they may. And I would just ask a simple question. Has it seemed like we have the right to worship how, where, and what we may?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, it hasn't felt like that at all. So in the words of Gordon B. Hinckley, who was a great man, Latter-day Saints, Gossip Patrol, stand a little taller. Chief Midegah, until next time, Bomapi. Hold on. P.S.
I just wanted to say one last thing. I don't have a PhD. I'm not this super educated person. I'm just a simple mother, but I do have enough sense to know that you do not attack or slander or say anything about a person that you have never met or had a conversation with in your life. And you are just going off of gossip, off of what other people say.
So what is real? I am Midegah Ogeechee Da'a. I am Ogima Sanjab. I am a high priest in the Midewin. I am Anishinabeg, and I am a Turtle Islander, and I will honor my ancestors. You want to know about me? Ask me or ask the elders that are with me.
Or me.
Or my wife, all right? And I'm that guy that gets on a plane every month, and we sacrifice and run zero every month just for me to show up for my boys in Germany every month, and I show up for her sons every day.
That's true.
And we would call upon you to turn your hearts to your families and away from your electronic devices.
If you have a family, focus on your children instead of focusing on slandering someone else.
That's right. And if you are reading the sacred records, remember that the creme de la creme is the Book of Mormon. So do not sacrifice your time reading the Book of Mormon to read the sacred records. Find a complement, but it should probably be a 70-30. Okay? All right, Chief Midegah.